Peace and blessings to everybody that can hear the sound of my voice, and I hope you pass those peace and blessings on to those that can't. So, I wanted to come to you today to do a review on the Joker, the movie, not the character. But who knows? We might get into the character as well. So, um, movie was fantastic. Um, it definitely gave you multi layers, surprises. Um, it gave you great acting, and it kept you entertained as movies should. So, that being said, let's break it down into the categories that I do. Now, I'm going to break it into that conspiracy. I'm going to break it into that what does that mean for black people, and I'm going to break it into um, some of the subconscious things that they were mentioning. Now, because this was a Hollywood blockbuster, not because they only put $5 million into it, but because of the hype around it. They hyped it because it was Joker, part of DC. Joker's one of the biggest villains in DC, or associated with Batman. So, being said, there's been Jack Nicholson that played Joker. The other one that played in the Dark Knight, who died, or from suicide. And before I go into it, I do believe that um, anybody who's a method actor who plays the Joker will have a lot of suicidal thoughts and tendencies, because you go into a role of a character who is complete anarchy. The Joker in itself is the representation of anarchy, where Batman depicts order and justice. So the Joker is the opposite of that, which is anarchy and destruction, or injustice, or crime. But nevertheless, when you go into a role or a character like that, that is in essence, uh, you know, the chaos itself incarnate, then you will have um, some type of effects after the role. Now, um, what conspiracy? What did I see there? Now, as far as the conspiracy, um, in the movie, you had the Joker that was always laughing. Now, the Joker laughed um, because of a condition he had, and the condition was based off of the abuse that he endured as a child. Now, the abuse that children get usually triggers, especially if it's devastating. It triggers compartmentalization of that violence or abuse. So he didn't know that he was abused because it was so traumatic. He compartmentalized it. Now, this compartmentalization goes into things like the Manchurian Candidate, things like the sleeping agenda, where or sleeping agents agenda, where you have people that have these traumatic events, and then they grow up to have handlers, um, and those handlers would trigger something like the Winter Soldier, and these are just movies that kind of go into that effect. Um, they can do some kind of um, brainwashing or brain augmentation that allows them to tap into the person and bring out different personalities. So when you compartmentalize that, you're able to mentally make different personas or identities, split personalities, you know, and be a psychopath or schizophrenia, which definitely showed itself in the Joker as later he became not the mask but the person. So first the Joker was just a joke, and then the Joker was a man. So basically, with that said, you got the compartmentalization, you got the split personalities, based on the childhood abuse that are allowing you to be sleeper agents in the field, which is anywhere and everywhere, right? So with your handlers, and his handler would have been the TV host of the TV show, right? Because he looked up to him, he quoted words that he spoke, and that's pretty much how you trigger somebody into a different persona. So you have a rhythmic or word pattern that will trigger them into a different part of the mind in which they would be a different person. So with that, the person, and this movie reminds me of two different movies, um, The Network and Purge. The Network is an old show where the guy was saying that he was talking to God and he had a message from God, and people started listening to him. And then the Purge is because people wear masks and go out and commit acts of violence and crime. So to have a prophet or an idol in which you can put yourself into and become. So his the other part of that conspiracy is the secret army, right? Secret army is the army of the sleeping agents. Now, you do have sleeping agents with handlers that have these traumatic events, but you also have sleeping agents who have been developed through subconscious means with television and movies. So, and also YouTube. So when you have things that have bright lights and flashing on the screen, that is the ability to do things like the MK Ultra experiment, because now TVs are going to 4K, which are able to present light and picture, and it can project it. So you're not only having a screen in which you're able to see a image, but if you look at it on a blank white wall, you're able to see that same image projected onto that wall. So the reason that's important is because that pierces, and it doesn't necessarily just stay on the screen, but it pierces through as it always does with through the subconscious into that temporal lobe. But now um, it's more dangerous than ever because of the clarity of the image. Um, but those people growing up watching certain shows have a sense of identity. So you say, all right, um, if white people feel empowered, and this is what I mean to black people, if white people feel empowered, then they feel embrazen. And once they feel embrazen, then what will they do? So you have the instance where um, you see no ramifications for shootings or killings of melanated people in the country of America. You have the stereotypical hero, which is always a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, or you'll have um, the image of a soldier being that WASP as well. So the reason this is important is because with these um, characteristics and traits, you start imagining yourself to be one of these people. All right, are you the hero? Are you the soldier? Are you the kid who's had enough, or so on and so forth? I don't know. I know I done a list, so I don't want to just harp on it and take up too much of the time. I want to go into now more so about the conspiracy. How does that affect black people and the subconscious? So subconsciously, this movie goes into people that are self-medicating, people that are depressed, anxiety, and are having issues within the current status quo. Now, majority of people are being medicated, either self-medication or look how big this is. Wow. Just had to blow that thing out. Um, and excuse me for that. But the people that have this self-medication, the people that feel like they're not good enough, that white people aren't getting a fair shake anymore because Mexicans are coming over, because the majority of music is hip-hop, because they're not the cool people. They feel isolated. They feel rejected, and this speaks to them on that subconscious level because they are the faceless soldiers. So they will get behind someone who makes a point, who stands up for them in a way that they feel they can support. So the Joker, he took medication. He had a condition. He thought, oh well, there's no jobs for us. There's no, the health facilities are shutting down. The crime level was up, and there was nobody there to help this white man in society. So this is one of those seeds that drops into the heads of white men in America. It goes, Now, it's not necessarily the 25 and up, um, because their brains may be more developed, um, and they're going to be the leader of the masses anyway. So um, you're really planting that seed for the 15 and up, or 13 and up, so that as they grow up, they're already growing up listening to their parents, which unfortunately there is a lot of bigotry and racism that's going on in this country. So the parents, saying the same thing that the movies are saying. Their friends are saying the same thing the movies are saying. And now they feel like they have to do something. They don't know what to do. They'll get behind someone who's doing something about it. That's how that's how the KKK is growing in numbers after all these years. That's why neo-Nazis are growing in numbers after all these years, because of movies that plant the seed in their subconscious in order to follow someone who's going to, stop them from being victimized as they think, or someone has told them to think. So it's really important, because this movie is going to influence countless white kids to think I'm marginalized, or I am part of the unheard or unwanted, and it's your fault. It's your fault I gotta be PC. It's your fault I can't, wear my whiteness as I have in the past. It's your fault. I can't be proud of myself and who I am. So that is my recap of the movie. In the movie, the woman also adopted the Joker, and you see this a lot in people that have, handlers. They have adopted parents that abuse them at an early age, that allows for this compartmentalization, that allows for this split personalities, and then become their handlers. So in the movie The Joker, his handler was his mother, and then it was the TV star. So just to point that out. And then you have, let's see what else happened in the movie. They tried to show bullying. Well, not bullying, but backstabbing, so to speak. It was okay, I guess. Yeah, this video's going on 20 minutes, and I don't want to hold you, but leave your comments down below. Like and subscribe if you do. And yeah. Be more videos to come, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. Propaganda is always real, and we have to see it as clearly as we see the new day. Alright. Peace and blessings to you all.